You want guys that are going to be true to you, true to your culture, that are going to embrace that, live that, help you teach that. And when times get tough, and they're going to get tough, you're going to have some ups, and even the best teams have ups and downs. So you're going to inevitably, when you're building a program, you're going to have a lot of ups and downs along the way. And you need guys that during those downs are going to stay committed to your culture.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast, where we interview coaches and leaders to find out not just what they do, but how they do what they do. Becoming the best version of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it.
Today we're joined by head men's basketball coach of the University of Arkansas Fort Smith, Jim Boone. Coach Boone has 576 wins in his 36 years as a head coach. He's led teams to 2 Final Fours, 6 Sweet 16s, and all of 4 D2 schools he's coached at to the NCAA tournament. Before we hear from Coach Boone, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast.
What an honor to finally get to talk to you. I feel like I've been following you for years, and
Well, you're too kind. I appreciate you saying that. It's a pleasure for me to be here today. How's things going, man? You had an exciting spring here with Baylor winning the championship, huh?
Oh my goodness. 18 years ago, if you would have asked me, will Baylor win a championship, that quick after everything kind of that we went through and the fallout, I would have said there's no way. And so Coach Drew and those guys did an awesome job.
Oh, yes, they did. No doubt about it. A great job.
Tell me how you're doing and everything. What's going on with you?
We're good. We're real good. We kind of overexceeded everybody's expectations in that first year, particularly moving into the Lone Star. And we just kind of patched it together to make it work. And then we brought in 6 freshmen. And, what a year to bring in 6 freshmen. We don't get to practice. We don't get to do anything with them in the fall. I think we practiced 2 days all in November.
Wow.
So you miss all that time to really develop a young team. But with that being said, we're grateful we got to play.
Mm-hmm.
We played, I think 15 or 16 games. And we were pretty good once we got to practice and got away from COVID quarantines.
Yeah.
But we went through 3 different quarantine periods during the season, and each one of those just kind of, you come back from it. And Matt, I don't know how they and I know they had their heart in the right place, but administrators that wanted us to come back and have a day or 2 and then play. And it was just really hard. It was hard on our guys.
Yeah, non-sports people making those decisions, not really understanding what all goes into the preparation for doing what you guys do. Yeah, that's tough.
Oh, that's exactly right. And it was hard on our guys too. And like I said, to have a group of freshmen that were trying to figure it out, that wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, but we're happy. We're positioned really well right now. I had 2 seniors that both graduated, but both chose to come back and play in this extra year with us, and both are starters. So to have them coming back, and we should be able to hopefully compete in the middle of the pack, or maybe even move up a little bit, depending on how things go. I say that in May. I might change my mind in November.
I think it's good when you're super optimistic now about what could happen, because with your training and everything that you're going to do, you're only going to make them better. So no, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I do too. And I love our group. We've got a great group of guys, and they're working. Our freshmen are talented. Our upperclassmen are good. So we'll see. All of us could use a little bit more quickness, or a little bit more athleticism, a little bit more size, but I like our guys.
Yeah, you just trust that the right guys will be on the bus, right, when you need them. When you need them.
That's exactly right.
How does culture drive performance?
Uh, Great question. And you know where we come from on this. We're in the firm believers that, you know, culture eats strategy for lunch every day.
Hmm.
It's all about culture. Culture is the foundation of your program, and any type of success you have is due to that culture. So it's extremely important that you have a great culture in place, that you have great people that are embracing that culture. And we all know you can pick captains, but leaders will emerge.
Hmm.
And you need to have leaders as a coach. You need to have leadership internally that is saying the same things you are, that is preaching your culture on a daily basis. Culture is it's a hard thing to build.
Hmm.
It's a hard thing to create, and you can lose it in a heartbeat. So it's important that you've got really good people in your locker room that are continuing to live and to speak your culture. Now, you know, again, we've all heard a a coach-led team can be good, but a player-led team can be great. And I think that's what that's reflecting upon is your players being able to lead that culture. You know, Coach Dick Bennett, which obviously those who know me know I'm a big fan of Coach Bennett. I heard him say one time years ago, when you're taking a new position, a new job, the first thing you want to do in your recruiting process is to recruit players you can lose with first.
Hmm.
And I always say, let that soak in for just a second, because people hear that and they're like, what? Players you can lose with? The reasoning is very simplistic. You want guys that are going to be true to you, true to your culture, that are going to embrace that, live that, help you teach that. And when times get tough, and they're going to get tough, you're going to have some ups, and even the best teams have ups and downs. So you're going to inevitably, when you're building a program, you're going to have a lot of ups and downs along the way. And you need guys that during those downs are going to stay committed to your culture. So just kind of circle back. Yeah, I think that culture is the foundation of everything you do.
So starting over a program and like you've done, you're not necessarily going out and trying to find the best players possible. You're trying to find the best human beings possible that can also play, that will fit into what you do and what you want to create with your culture.
No doubt about it. It's about, when we recruit, the first two things we look for are high character, and secondly, high energy. If we can get high character people and that doesn't matter whether it's the first day of starting a program or the 10th or plus year of being in a program, I think it's imperative to surround yourself with high character people. And what happens in our business, in our profession, our industry, a lot of times we get seduced by talent. And it's easy. You go see a kid play and like, wow, man, he can play. But there's more to it than that. And you've got to have people around you that are first and foremost great people. And I mentioned the second attribute to that we look for, and that's high energy people. I don't deal well with moody guys, the guys that when things are going well, they're going great, and then when things aren't going well, they're down. I want guys around us they're going to be positive, enthusiastic, energetic every day, and that I can count on when they walk into that practice, they're going to be ready to go, a smile on their face, and let's get to work.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about so high energy. I mean, you hear the word motor a lot used for that as well. So, and we talk with as high school coach, I talk to my guys about having a high motor. But in your, what's your definition of a high energy, high motor? What are some characteristics of that player?
Well, I think all of us would think that a guy high motor, high energy is a guy that's going to he's going to be a really hard worker, and I think that is a learned skill.
Mm.
When we're recruiting, that is something else that we look for is a hard work ethic. It is something that can be developed. It is a skill, but I do think that you need to have a resume of work behind you as evidence that you can be a really hard worker at the collegiate level. So a guy that's going to work hard, that's going to, that'll dive on the floor and give up his body for his team, that's going to go after a loose ball. I realize that guys are coming from different programs, so they may have been taught something differently than what we teach. But how do they interact with their coach when their coach is instructing them? How do they interact with their teammates? How do they interact with officials if it's in a game scenario? What do they do when they come out of the game? That guy that comes out of the game and it's hard. It's hard on our kids, I understand, because they're watching the NBA.
Sure.
And they're seeing a guy that comes out of the game making millions of dollars and he wants to go to the end of the bench and put a towel on his head. But to me, that guy, I'm just not wired properly. And it's different strokes for different folks. I'm just not wired properly to coach that guy. He's probably not going to be happy with me, and I'm not going to be happy with him. So I want to work to get the guys that do have the high energy, and again, just the enthusiasm level, that they're congratulating, they're encouraging teammates, that when you meet them, they're not looking down at the floor, that they're looking up, hey coach, how you doing? Good to meet you. I'm so-and-so. Those are things that I think are little clues that help. And not all those have to deal with your activity level on the court.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody can be that guy that's flying around all the time, but they're all important. And if you have those attributes, then you'll fit well into what we do.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Biology. What's your BSA score? The Biology Skill Assessment is the only verified skills metric endorsed by the NIA and NJCAA to discover and develop the best talent for your team. This 10-minute, 100-shot test can be taken for free today on the Biology mobile app. Elevate your game. I love following you on social media, not just for your basketball stuff, but also your cooking things as well. Like you always have these amazing meals prepared and things. But one picture about your team that I really loved is created by culture. That phrase with some of your guys on the picture. Could you just tell us a little bit about what is the culture that you try to create there?
Absolutely. And it has, it's been the same cornerstones for most of our career. As I mentioned, and I think it's important to restate it, first and foremost, we recruit character and high energy guys. And once we can get past that component, then I think it's important that we're looking towards guys that can meet those four cornerstones of our program: hard work, toughness, passion, unity. We've talked a little bit about hard work already. The fact that that it is a learned activity, it is a skill, but we believe thoroughly if you're going to be successful in our program, you're going to have to be a guy that wants to really work hard. We say we're a hard work basketball program, and to live up to that, we're going to push our guys to what they feel their limits are, and we've got to have guys that are willing to be pushed to those limits. Not everybody is.
That's a good point.
The toughness part is a lot of times people assimilate toughness with just being physically strong or to me, it's more mental than it is physical. And I'll give you an example of how it relates directly to us. In our defensive approach, we're very simplistic with our pack line. A lot of the same things that we're going to be working on in our early season practice, September, October, we're going to be doing in February and March. And so when you're doing those same things over and over and over, and I'm not the proponent, I say at clinics all the time, if you came to get a lot of drills from us, you're probably not going to leave real happy, because we don't do a lot of drills, but we do a few drills a ton. Yeah. And so the repetition can be tedious. It can be boring, so to speak. To me, though, I think repetition represents success and winning, because it builds two things for us. It obviously is improving our habits, improving the skill that we're working on, but it's building that mental toughness, that mental ability to fight through those laborious repetitions to get to the next one, and to embrace the grind. And when we can get guys that can do that, obviously our chances of success have went up greatly. Passion, we talked about a little bit. We want guys coming in that are energetic. They're excited to be there. They want to be in practice. Again, I don't deal well with the guy that wants to come in and I realize we all have our ups and downs.
Right. You'll have
but
a
we
day.
know as coaches, my worst day, I've got to go in there and I've got to have a great face on. I've got to show enthusiasm. I've got to show energy, because if I'm not doing that, they're certainly not going to have that. And I want guys that are going to be that way, not guys that I've got to feel like that, I've got to pull them along the way, like we're going to the dentist office and I'm pulling teeth. No, I'm not doing that. I want guys that when I walk on that practice floor, I can't wait to get there. That's the best 2 hours of my day. I want it to be the best 2 hours of your day. And then finally, unity. And this is a big one for us, because it's hard. We get hit all the time with, well, if I come and play for you, am I just going to be a screener? I saw a guy tweeted the other day, I thought it was awesome. Portal guys aren't leaving to go be screeners in places. So, they don't want to do that.
That's right.
Listen, everybody has a role. And your ability to not just accept that role, but to embrace it and apply it. Our sport's the hardest sport, I believe, because if you're a baseball player, you know what your role is. It's dictated by your position. If you're a football player, it's dictated by your position. But because of the positionless nature that has always existed in our game, it becomes a great gray area. And so what is my role? And I think we as coaches, it's incumbent upon us to be very specific. This is your role. This is how you best help your team. And we need guys that are going to accept, again, and embrace that role. The other piece of that, when we're recruiting, again, I think it's imperative. How does a young man interact with his team? Does he get all fired up and upset and mad because somebody didn't pass him the ball or somebody made a mistake? Or is he going over and picking a guy up that just made a heck of a play and patting him on the back and telling him what a great job he did? Is he huddling these guys together? Those are the things that we look for, and that's what our culture's about. It's hard. It's hard to create that. We have made great strides in that regard in a very short period of time. I feel like, and I don't want to use it as an excuse, because we did a lot of things to overcome it, but COVID to a degree hurt us some, because you lose the personal contact with your guys. And it's more than just on the practice floor. Yeah, we were able to do that, but we weren't able to go to lunch with one of them or have them in the office, 3 or 4 of them, to watch film, or just them. or to bring them over to my house for a team dinner, or individually
Hmm.
in small groups, or just one guy. Guy has a because we said, sometimes you have a bad day. A guy has a bad day. Hey, come on, you're coming home and having dinner with me tonight. Where you get to talk about things that have nothing to do with basketball. And it's just COVID made that difficult. It didn't make it impossible. It made things like technology. If you would have asked me to do this a year ago on Zoom, or a year and 18 months ago, I said, Matt, what are you talking about? What's Zoom? I wouldn't know what that was.
Right.
But so there's been a lot of good things that come out of it too. And
Hmm.
we did all the Zooms and with our team and individuals and film. And when we went in our little, our quarantines, which were necessary and important, but still difficult.
Yeah.
This Zoom was a lifesaver, because we had guys that are sitting in their daggone dorm rooms with nothing to do, ready to bounce off the walls. So, the opportunity to have some interaction with them in that way was really cool.
Yeah, I think this last year definitely forced us as coaches to be more creative, think outside the box of what we're traditionally and normally allowed to do, and figure out a way.
Yes, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, and if anything, you nailed it, Matt. It's about you have to be able to adapt.
Hmm.
My son and I were talking the other day. I'm very blessed. My son is my assistant coach.
That's cool.
Jimmy played for me at Tusculum College, and that was really cool. I mean, to be with your son every day. I just saw where Pat Baldwin's son is going to play for him at Milwaukee. I thought that's so cool. That's so great, because you just can't replace that.
Hmm.
There's not a price tag there.
Right.
When you get to be with your son or a family member every single day, and now to coach with him has been even better. To watch him grow and to watch him take a leadership role with our guys has been really cool. But we were talking the other day, and I said, I've been a part of 5 different decades,
Hmm.
which I guess makes me kind of old, but I've coached in 5 different decades, starting as a head coach. Now, I've coached in 6 decades as an assistant. But as a head coach, I've coached in five different decades, from the 80s until now.
Hmm.
And the changes that we've seen, and if nothing else, just technology.
Yeah.
When I started coaching, we didn't have cell phones, and that's one of the reasons that you're in the office at 7 in the morning and you're staying to 7 or 8 at night, because your phone time was big in the evening. That's when, from that 4 o'clock time on, that's when you were on the phone.
Hmm.
And you had to use a school phone, because the expense involved in it, and it's just from that to cell phones to internet to things like we're doing today.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and you've got to be able to adapt and move forward with that and utilize it. And if you're one of these guys that say I can't do that, you're going to get left behind.
That's right. What's one thing that makes your program different?
Another really good question. And I think that the first thing I would say is our system of play. And, you can say, well, a lot of people play your way, but the way that we play defensively and how we put our offense to connect with our defense and to complement our defense, we strive to be a blue collar grit and grind team. And in today's world, there aren't as many of those kind of teams around, as everybody's trying to play probably a little bit faster, a little bit more offensive minded,
Hmm.
so to speak. Not that we're not, but much more of an emphasis than is on the defensive side of it, which we are. Along with that, I would add a couple other things, Matt. I would say, and again, I'll bring up Don Meyer, who was a dear friend that we lost several years ago.
Yes, sir.
and gave so much to coaches. So he told me one time there are 5 things that separate uh, great programs from good programs. And so we've always tried to live by those 5 things in our own program. The first one was preparation. That you should prepare, you should practice, you should play like you lost your last game.
Mm.
You shouldn't go out and you've won 3 or 4 in a row, so now all of a sudden you just kind of go out on the practice floor and you don't have that same eye of the tiger, that same intensity, that same attention to detail. And it's going to get you beat. So rather than wait till that happens, you prepare and plan every day just like you lost the last game. The second thing is teaching. And we feel, and I know a lot of people do, your alma mater does a great job with that in terms of being a player development is important to us. And so we're really working hard to develop our guys and their skill level. I don't make a lot of promises when we recruit somebody. I think that's just not something that helps when you're trying to build trust with young people.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first time something happens and you can't live up to one of those promises, coach, you said you'd do this. But one thing I do promise them is you come and you spend 4 years with us, you will be a better basketball player than when you walked in the door, because we're going to work really hard from a athletic, physical standpoint and also a mental standpoint of developing your skill level and basketball acumen. Consistency is the third thing, that you're consistent in your approach, that everything fits. We go to a clinic and we see 3 or 4 things that we really like. Hey, I'm going to go home, I'm going to put these in. And they just don't work with what you're doing.
That's
a
good point.
Fit.
Yep.
And that was a big thing with us, that our offense is selected so that it fits the anchors of our program and it fits our defensive play. Mm-hmm. The ability to compete and to compete on a daily basis is number 4. And number 5 is your ability to close, to finish. So those are 5 things that I think Coach Meyer definitely nailed, that the great programs all do those things very well. And so those are things that we put high on our list of trying to address as we go through our season. So I guess I don't know if I've fully answered your question, but I do think our system of play, coupled with our philosophy, that we're not out there to build an all-star team. We're trying to put together a good basketball team. A lot of times I've had assistant coaches that look at me and say, well, we need this guy. No, we don't. If you bring that guy in, who are you going to sit down? Who's not going to get the minutes they're getting now? But it'll make us better. Well, maybe not. We've invested in these other young men. Let's work to get them where they need to be so that we can improve in that way. And it's not just trying to collect talent. It's trying to put together the pieces to have a great team.
So you feel a sense of loyalty to those guys that are on your team, and that to make it work with that group right then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always say this, when we bring in somebody, I'll be, I'm just like any other coach. I'm wrong sometimes. I see potential in a young man that just for whatever reason, it just doesn't happen. And there's 2 things I try to do with that. The first thing is I'm going to be brutally honest with that young man. I think that's imperative. When I was a player, and I played for a great man, but he was so nice. One of the nicest people I've ever been around, my head college coach. And every year he'd bring me in and say, hey, Jimmy, I think you're going to have a chance to be a starter for us next year. And if you just do this, I had no chance to be a starter for us. We had really good players. Okay. And I know what he was trying to do, but I don't want to tell our players things that aren't true. And so I'll say, listen, Johnny, I just don't see you playing in our program in the next 2 years, but you've always got a home here, and I want you to prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. There's nothing that would make me happier then you come in here and earn a spot. And that's happened sometimes. And then the second thing is that if we make a mistake like that, we're not cutting the kid. And at Division II, that's something that happens quite a bit. We're not doing that. We're going to give that young man every opportunity to continue to progress. And even if you're not a guy that gets to play as much, there's a role for you on our team. Now, with that being said, I understand today kids want to play. And if you want to go play somewhere and you feel like you can do that, then I'm all about that too. I'll help you in any way I can.
You know, I've had the opportunities the last few weeks since I've been meeting with coaches just to sit back and listen to them, and I still think like a player. I believe I still listen to a coach like you and think, okay, if I was a player, would I want to play for this person? And just from the last 30 minutes, golly, we've already gone 30 minutes. Coach, I believe I would have really enjoyed playing for you because I love the way you
that
teach.
means a lot. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah, and well, for what it's worth, right? The way you teach and communicate, it just really, it aligns with me. So I appreciate you.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
What are the non-negotiables in your program?
Well, that's kind of we have our know your nose defensively, KNOW, know your nose. But I think your question probably is meant to be a little bit deeper in regards to the young men in our program. And
Yeah,
I don't
your
like
standards.
having a lot of rules.
Right.
I don't have a lot of rules. I give my guys three things. First thing we call Lombardi time. If we have if practice is at 2:00, I expect you to be on the court at 1:45, ready to go. If we have a film session at 3, you need to be in that film room at 2:45, ready to go. If the bus is leaving at 4, you need to be on the bus at 3:45, ready to go. If you're early, you'll never be late. And I think that teaches young men one of the things I think is extremely important, to be respectful of other people. And there's no better way in some regards to be respectful of someone than to be respectful of their time, because that's one of the most valuable things that we all have. So we demand and teach that. The second thing is that we all take notes. Everybody takes notes. Our assistant coach, we have a meeting that I'm addressing. Our assistant coaches take notes. Our players take notes. If one of our assistants is going through a scout or something that we've given him to do that day with our team, I'm taking notes. Everybody takes notes. We hand out a notebook to our players. It's one of the vehicles that helps us to teach our culture. And I give them motivational handouts during the year, but I don't ever give them a scout. I don't ever give them, things that we talk about, like our offensive scheme or any entries that we're going to run into our offense, our out of bounds plays, our defensive scheme. But we'll watch film and we'll say, okay, I might put it on the board. Here's an out of bounds play that we're going to run. This is what we're going to call it. This is an entry we're going to run into our motion. This is what we're going to call it. Here it is on the board. Here's what it looks like being ran with one of our former teams running it. And then we'll go out and go through it. And so it's up to them to write it down. So I think that does a couple of things. I know when I was a student, when I was a player, and even now when I go to coaches clinics, and if you ever see me in a clinic, I'm going to be sitting there taking notes on whoever speaks. It could be somebody that I could, our philosophies might be 180 degrees apart, but there's something I can learn from that coach.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I want to be able to take those notes and then go back through them later and sift through the things that I think could be good for us or something that I want to implement in my own philosophy or system of play. So Second one was everybody takes notes, and the third one is everybody picks up trash. And that's kind of a metaphor that we want to leave whatever we're involved in, as a player, as a coach, in our program, as a student, walking through the unit. You want to leave it better than you found it. And so there's some practical applications of that. When we're on the road and we play in somebody else's locker room, I'll guarantee you, if you walk in that locker room after our team leaves, it'll be cleaner than it was before we got there, because they'll not only pick up their tape and their cups and their garbage, but they'll pick up anything that was there when they walked in the door that was there before them. Same thing with our locker room. I do not want to walk into our team room and see a towel on the floor or a pair of shoes thrown out in the middle, or somebody's socks laying, halfway hanging out their locker. I want things to be, and that's probably me being a little OCD, but I want things being neat and clean and orderly. I tell them, if you're walking across campus and you see an empty Coke can or a food wrapper, pick it up and throw it away. It doesn't matter that it's not yours. And then we try to really emphasize that it's about us trying to make the world a little bit better today than the way we found it. And so I think that applies to all areas of a young man's life. And then we don't, again, I don't have a lot of rules. I want to be a leader. I don't want to be a rule person. And I believe that, and I hate this today, and I'm probably speaking against some very intelligent people, much smarter than me, but I'm not about, having 800 policies, 800 policy statements. And I know administratively and through our universities and schools, that's kind of what we live with in today's world. But I want to be able to take each situation as it comes to us and then deal with it and that young man on a personal level. I'll give you an example. Maybe we have a freshman that shows up late for a practice. All right, he's going to hear it from me, and there's going to be some type of small penalty, whatever it is. Maybe a senior comes late who's never missed a day in his whole life, never been late a single day in his whole life. And that freshman might have came up to me and said, Coach, I had 4 flat tires. Walked out, had 4 flat. No way I could get here. You're lucky I'm here. That senior might come out and say, Coach, I overslept. But I've never been late in my 4 years. I'm not gonna probably even penalize that senior. I'm just gonna tell him, listen, you've been great. You're here. Don't let it happen again. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so I think to me, that's leadership. And to me, that's being fair. That's teaching based upon individuals. Everybody's not the same. You can't treat them all the same, and you can't treat every situation the same, even though we'd like to put them under these neat and nice little umbrellas. It's really hard. It's really hard to do that without knowing your people. So that's kind of, so what I was going to say is that obviously we just tell them very simply, right from wrong, do right. Do right. We recruited you because we've talked to people, we talked to your coaches, your counselors, your parents, people who know you. We've watched, the difference between right and wrong. I got asked this the other day. Do you have study table for your players? We do not. We've had 2 years of the highest grade point averages in our school's history with our teams, with our basketball team. We're gonna recruit guys who can be successful in the classroom, who want to be successful in the classroom. Because if you want to be successful in today's classroom, you're going to have an opportunity to be successful. We have enough resources available to you to help you be successful. So if I have a study table 4 nights a week from 7 to 9, what I'm doing is I'm infringing upon that good student's ability to meet with a study group outside of that class, or to spend quiet time in his own room or in the library going through whatever he needs to do. Now, that's not to say we wouldn't prescribe that if we had someone who was having an issue and needed help. We would get them the help that they need. But again, that's treating every situation differently and not trying to treat everybody the same, because they're not the same.
Golly, coach, there's so much good stuff there with your standards. Because I like what you said too, not necessarily non-negotiables, but just standards, things that you live by. One thing you've said a few times, you said
Exactly.
they have to want to be a good student. You mentioned before they have to want to be coached hard. So that want to, I hope that players listening to this hear that college coaches want guys that want things, that choose to be coached hard, choose to do the right thing all the time.
No doubt. I love what I do. And part of the reason I love what I do is the impact. Probably the biggest reason is the impact that we get to make on people's lives. So to be surrounded by people who want to be successful, who want to work hard, who want to be pushed to help them get to the next step in their life. Matt, a lot of times what we're doing, and I don't want to act like we're the biggest influence here, because we'll never take the place of a young man or young lady's parents.
Right.
But we have them for 4 years. And when they're in college, I'm seeing them every single day, and for at least 2-3 hours a day. And so I do have a chance to have an impact on them, and our ability to take young men and to help mold them to be better fathers, better husbands, better leaders in their own communities is what it's really all about.
I love hearing just the amount of pride that you take in impacting your players' lives, that it's not just about X's and O's and what they can do for you on the floor. It's that kind of that bigger purpose to what we do as coaches.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that gets lost a little bit by the outside world. They only see, why'd you call that timeout?
Right.
Why didn't you go zone? They don't see the development that's going on with our young men and young ladies as we coach them on a day-to-day basis.
What's one thing you would do differently if you could start over in coaching?
I thought about that, and I've had a great career. I hope that I've got another 10 years in me, because I love what I do. I absolutely love being with the kids. I think they keep us young.
Mm-hmm.
I get a year older every year, but they stay the same. So that's really, that's a great way to stay youthful in your approach. But if I was going to change one thing, Matt, I think this is what it would be. I went to California University as my first head coaching job. California University is a Division II school in Pennsylvania, just outside of Pittsburgh. And when I took the job over, my entire approach was do everything we can to build a program to impact lives and to be successful. But along the way, because of our success, I became very, excuse me, 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I got a great dog that decided to come in here and visit with me for a second. I became very ambitious in terms of wanting to chase the next job. What can I get a Division I job? Can I climb that Division I ladder? And I eventually had the opportunity to do that, and I left there, and it was good. I mean, I don't have any regrets in leaving, but if I could go back and change something, I would have stayed at Cal, and I'd still be coaching there today. Wow. And the reason I say that is this. I don't know, it was probably 2 weeks ago, and our players organized this. our first championship team there in 1987 organized a Zoom session with most of the former players on that team and
That's
our
cool.
coaches. And just the family atmosphere that you build and guys wanting to come back and be a part of your program. Now, I've been blessed because players that I've had in all 5 of those decades at the 7 different institutions that I've coached at, they all still come back to me like we're all one family. We're all still at the same school. But I think that once it's that I've gotten along the way, it's more important as coaches that we're not chasing the next job. That we understand that you take the job you're in, you plant your feet there, and you do the best you can. And if something comes up and it was meant for you to be somewhere else, God will take you there.
That's right.
You'll get where you're supposed to be. But you need to do your best for that program, for that team, for that institution while you're there. And what you need to chase is significance. And my definition of significance is the impact you're having on young people's lives so that later on you're getting called, Coach, I've got a chance to change jobs. And I don't know. I just want to get your advice. Or, Coach, I'm getting married. Would you come to it? Or we're having our first child. Those are the things and to have those guys to want to call and want to still be a part of you is big time. I'll say that I got one of the greatest compliments I've ever gotten as a coach from one of my former players at Cal that happened to be on the next year's team. And he was a part of our first Final Four team. But he hadn't been in coaching per se. He'd done it on the side in AAU and some things like that, but he got a high school coaching job this past year. And the first thing he did was put together our cornerstones of our culture and how he's trying to build those things, and called me to ask me, some specifics. And I said, man, all these years later, and that's what he is. Yeah, Coach. He goes, the lessons that you taught us in the late 80s and early 90s are the lessons that I've used in raising my own family, my own children, and my own career today. And those are the things that's what means the most.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by The Laser, the most advanced basketball training system ever created. It's designed to help players develop their change of speed, pace, and direction. This state-of-the-art and award-winning technology tracks every move of your body and every bounce of the ball, while it gives you video-based instructor-led guidance through over 275 signature NBA drills, workouts, and brain exercises, scientifically proven to train the reaction time and decision-making for real in-game situations. For more information, check out handlefitness.com.
The speed round.
Okay.
It's going to be quick little questions. First thing that pops into your head, just blurt it out. You ready?
I'll do that, but I'm not a big shot clock guy, so don't put me under time.
All right. First question. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Pralines and cream.
Oh, that's a new one. For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
I'm a no shot clock guy. And let me say this. I understand. I get it. And I know that guys want the shot clock. My dear friend Don Showalter is a big proponent of the shot clock. And I get that. But it may be some sort of clock. But I just think that it puts our kids into position. Everybody thought, okay, we're going to put this 30-second shot clock in and we're going to score all these points in college basketball. In 1992, we had a 45-second shot clock, and my team averaged 92 points a game.
Wow.
And actually 1991. And we don't come close to that in today's. It has more to do with the physicality of our game and officiating than it does and when I say officiate, I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying
Right.
the way that they've been instructed to call the game,
Right.
than it does with a shot clock. But I do see the need for it. I will tell you this quick story. Uh, uh, I'm on the rules committee, and so we are constantly hammered. They want to reset that shot clock to 20. I said, guys, we have a 30-second shot clock.
Yeah.
Why are we resetting to 20?
Yeah.
Let's leave it at 30.
Yeah.
But I don't get much support in that regard. So,
oh man.
yeah.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas, no doubt.
Invisibility or super strength?
What now?
Invisibility is like a special power. Invisibility or super strength?
Oh wow, that's a great question. I might take. I wouldn't want to be able to read people's minds. I'd hate to know what some people are thinking when they don't want me to know. Maybe invisibility would be a good one.
Okay.
I'd be able to sneak in different people's gyms and watch them practice, and
scouting
I'd
would
pick
be
up
something completely different
sure.
then. Yeah. Place you most want to travel?
I tell you what, I have to go with my wife on this one. Anytime we can go to a beach.
There you go.
Wherever the beach is,
too.
Whether it's in Alabama, Florida, South or North Carolina, just give me to a beach.
All right. 2 more questions. How many cups of coffee do you drink in a day?
I do drink some during the season, maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, because we spend so much time in hotels.
Yeah.
But after that, I'm a Diet Mountain Dew guy.
There you go.
I do about 6 Diet Mountain Dews. Sometimes on a long day, it might be 10. So I do Diet Mountain Dew, and I hate to admit that that's probably not good for people to know, but I do.
It's the speed round though. You have to be honest in the speed round.
Right there,
You've
there
got
we
it.
go, man.
You've got it right there. Last one: Godfather or Star Wars?
Oh man, you're tearing me apart here, because I love both.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of The Godfather, the trilogy, all 3 movies. I like number 2 the best, is my favorite.
Interesting.
Followed by 1, and then 3's kind of out there. In Star Wars, I was growing up when Star Wars was big. So, and now it's amazing. 2 Christmases ago, we went to the theater to see. To see that last Star Wars movie it was out. So I like them both. How's that?
That's a great answer. A lot of coaches say Godfather, but I'm wondering if they just say that because they think they have to because they're coaches. But for me, my dad, he grew me up on Star Wars. Like we were, big fans. And so that's kind of the one I moved towards myself. But yeah, there's definitely some greatness in both.
Myself, my wife, and my 2 boys, we didn't miss any of the Star Wars movies coming out.
Nice.
Jimmy and Joey could tell you verbatim everything.
I love that. Coach, this was incredible. And I've been, again, such a fan of yours just from social media and following and how you care about your teams and your kids. And but getting to talk to you was just super special, man. I appreciate it.
Well, same here. I appreciate everything you do and the coaching community and what you're giving back to kids and to coaches. And to be a part of your podcast today was very special for me. I'm honored. I'm humbled. Thank you for the opportunity. And let's stay in touch for sure.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.